How are we doing, YouTube? It's your friendly gamer SmartEntity here. So the Warframe server is still down, so I thought I'd use this opportunity to talk a bit about Damage 2.0. So Damage 2.0 has been out for several weeks now, but I know a lot of players are still not fully familiar with it. They're just chucking mods on, seeing what happens. So I thought, I'll let you guys know, because if you do the right combo, you will be able to do a lot more damage to specific enemies. So this is the table that I look at. Now, there are some things to take note of, some things to ignore. So what do you ignore? Basically, this first part, I would ignore. Don't get me wrong, it is important, it's definitely good to know, but for our purposes, we don't need to worry about this first part. So physical damage part, we don't need to worry about. Now, 99% of the time, I wouldn't worry about status effect. And the reason for that is, when you are able to do good builds, you can kill most enemies extremely fast. So fast that the status effect wouldn't really have a role to play in. Now, main thing to look at is this part, which is the combined elements, and then another part to look at is this section, the elemental damage. Basically, for most weapons, it'll just be combined elements. For some weapons, such as the Soma or the Synapse, where you be doing, crit builds, you may not be able to have 4 slots for elements, so you only have 3. In which case, you do have to think about the elemental damage. So for myself and pretty much your end game players, most of them will be worried about or only concentrating on this section, which is a corrupted, which is the type of enemy you see in tower missions. For me, the only kind of challenge that I get is at your long T3 survival. I mean, T3 defense can potentially give you strong enemies, but if you want to see really high level enemies, the fastest way is T3 survival. You can see level 112 heavy gunners at about 70 minutes in T3 survival. For those of you guys who've been there, those kind of enemies are just incredibly hard to kill, and you do need a good team to keep on surviving. Okay, so a quick general breakdown. Basically, if you are in the void and you're able to put all 4 elements in, I would recommend viral and radiation. Now, I know a lot of people will disagree with that, but let me explain. So, viral does plus 75% to clone and 50% to flesh. Now, for the vast majority of players, they probably do up to 20-minute T3 survival, to do captures, exterminate, possibly up to 20 wave defense. And when you do that, the vast majority of enemies you face will be corrupted lancers and corrupted crewmen, right? So clone flesh and flesh. So both of these are covered by viral. Now, the hardest enemy by far, no matter what level you're doing, is corrupted heavy gunners, right? And they're part of clone flesh as well. Now, I know some of you guys will say, hey, look, corrupted heavy gunners is also ferret, and you get 75% with corrosive. Now, that's true, but in the early stages of the game, there'll be so many corrupted lancers, it's just better to use viral, right? Now, I know in terms of HP and armor, the scaling is different. So in your 60-minute T3 survival, you will do more damage with corrosive than viral against heavy gunners. But let's face it, how often are we at 60-minute T3 survival? So definitely recommend viral and radiation. Now, if you are basically doing a standard build, so if you're using something like the Boltor Prime, the Electron Prime, you have heavy caliber, serration, split chamber, right? Those 3 are your absolute essential mods that you need to have. Heavy caliber, some people don't like. It's fair enough, but if you want the max damage, you need to have that. Now, another mod that's worth mentioning is Speed Trigger. Speed Trigger is something that will vastly increase your DPS, but for me, I don't use it on a lot of my weapons just because I don't need DPS, because I need damage per bullet, right? If I do so much damage per bullet that I just kill enemies with one bullet, I don't need to fire a second bullet, so I don't need to worry about DPS, because if I kill them with one shot, then firing more than one shot is just, waste of ammo. So for those kind of builds, you would be using cold, toxic, heat, electricity. So there's 4 mods, and then you have your heavy caliber, serration, and split chamber. So altogether 7 mods. And then for your 5th mod, you want to use malignant force, which is toxin. For your corpus, I would recommend using magnetic and gas. So again, back on to the build, you got your serration, heavy caliber, split chamber, the 4 elemental mods. But instead of using malignant force, which is a toxin boost, you use high voltage, right, which is an event mod for electricity to boost the magnetic, because it does so much damage against corpus. And as you know, pretty much all corpus have a lot of shield. For your infested, now for infested, it's definitely debatable. Personally, again, I like to use gas and magnetic, just because so many enemies are chargers, leapers, runners, crawlers. Well, not so much crawlers, but runners, leapers, chargers definitely. So if you do gas and magnetic, amplifying toxin, so malignant force, is fine. But having said that, if you're doing even slightly higher levels, so even if you do 15 to 30 minute Orokin Derelict survival, or wave 15 to 30 defense, it's arguable that you might want to do corrosive and heat, because fossilized is basically your disruptors, ancients. They're the ones with the HP. They're the ones that takes more than one bullet to kill. So that plus 75% damage really helps. And then if you have heat, it does help with the chargers, leapers, and runners. It's debatable. For most beginners, gas and magnetic, I would say is still the one to go. Now, I know people disagree with it, but I've tried running with both of them, and from my experience, gas and magnetic is better, because I don't really run long infested defense. I like to do tower defense because it's more challenging, it's more fun, but it just depends what you do. For Guinea, now basically the way weapons go, you get 3 customizations per weapon. I'm quite lazy in terms of customizing for every mission, so for Guinea I just use the same build as Corrupted, and the reason for that is because heavy gunners are again your main enemies that take so much to kill, so it's just good to use that Vara against all Guinea, including the heavy gunners. And then radiation help with the alloy, which are your napalms and your eviscerators and your bombards. Napalms along with heavy caliber are probably the 2 hardest enemies to kill, so having that extra against the napalm is definitely welcome. Again, some people probably want corrosive, but from my experience, radiation and viral are just so much better. So yeah, so that's pretty much all I want to say about your general build and elements. I will be putting up videos in terms of modding specific weapons, namely crit build weapons where you won't be able to put all 4 elements on. There's also some elemental weapons, some really good ones, such as Synapse. So that's basically base electricity damage, there's no physical damage. So there's certain ways to mod that to optimize its electricity use. I'll be talking about that as well. So yeah guys, like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.